There are moments in life when the weight of the world finds its way onto your shoulders, when your heartbeat feels like a whisper lost in a storm, and every step forward feels like walking through water. In those moments, when your strength trembles and your courage flickers, you begin to wonder if you can carry just one more day. But hear me, child of God. You were never meant to carry everything alone. There are burdens too heavy for human hands, valleys too deep for human feet. And it is in these quiet, trembling moments that God leans close and says, "Be still. What you cannot hold, I will." For his timing is perfect, his hands are steady, and his plans never fall apart. Trust that the delays are not denials. Trust that the silence is not abandonment. Trust that the God who shaped your beginning is already preparing your blessing. When life becomes heavier than your hands can hold, God lifts what your spirit cannot carry. There comes a time when your own strength reaches its edge, when you stand in the middle of your own storm and feel the winds pushing harder than your body can resist. You try to be strong, you try to smile, you try to keep walking even when your legs tremble beneath you. But there is a point where the weight is not meant for you, a point where God whispers to your tired soul, "Let it go, give it to me." And in that surrender, you discover that divine strength begins exactly where human strength ends. There are seasons that break you open just to show you what was inside you all along. Pain will press you, uncertainty will stretch you, and challenges will sit heavy on your chest. But none of these moments are meant to bury you. They are meant to remind you that you are not walking this path alone. God has been beside you from the first step, watching as you tried to carry everything with your own two hands, waiting for the moment when you would finally look up and let him take what was never meant to be yours. Because God does not stand back when his children struggle. He steps forward. He lifts what your spirit cannot, and he holds what your heart cannot bear. We often think strength is proven in how much we can carry alone, but real strength is knowing when to release what is breaking you. It is understanding that surrender is not defeat, but a declaration of trust. Trust that God sees beyond the moment. Trust that he knows the weight of your worry, the depth of your sorrow, and the heaviness of your silent battles. And trust that when your load becomes too much, his hands are already extended, ready to catch what is slipping from your grasp. When you hand your burdens to him, you do not become weaker, you become lighter. You become able to rise again. Life will test you, but God will never let those tests crush you. He will place people, signs, and quiet moments of clarity before you, reminding you that you are supported even when you feel forgotten. He will show you that the trouble you face today is a testimony you will speak tomorrow. He will reveal that the struggle you fear will break you is actually shaping you into a version of yourself that is wiser, calmer, and stronger than you ever imagined. God lifts the weight not only to free your hands, but to free your spirit, to make room in your heart for faith instead of fear, for peace instead of pressure. And when you finally release what has been draining your strength, you will feel God carry you in ways you never expected. He will guide you through the dark, steady your trembling steps, and lead you toward the exact place he prepared for you long before you knew you needed it. The burden that once threatened to break you becomes the very proof that God has always been holding you. There is a divine calendar. God is never late, never early, always right on time. We forget this because we live in a world that rushes us, pressures us, and convinces us that everything must happen immediately. We want answers today, breakthroughs by morning, and miracles on demand. But God does not move at the pace of our impatience. He moves at the pace of purpose. His timing is woven with intention, stitched with wisdom, and wrapped in a love far greater than our understanding. When he delays, it is not because he has forgotten you. It is because the moment is not yet ripe, the path not yet ready, or your heart not yet prepared. And though waiting feels like standing in stillness, God is working behind that stillness in ways you cannot see. Sometimes the greatest frustration in life comes from believing we are ready for what we are praying for. We hold on to dreams and desires with tight, eager hands, not realizing that if God gave them to us too soon, they might become burdens instead of blessings. What you call taking too long, God calls protecting you. What you see as a pause, God sees as preparation. He shields you from rooms you are not meant to enter yet, from people whose presence would derail your growth, from opportunities that shine like gold but carry the weight of harm. In the delay, He is shaping your character, strengthening your patience, and molding your spirit so that when the blessing finally meets you, you can hold it without trembling. There are days when waiting feels like walking through fog. You can't see the road ahead. You can't hear the answers you prayed for, and you can't predict what tomorrow will bring. During those moments, doubt creeps in quietly, whispering that maybe God has forgotten you, or maybe your prayers are too small to reach His ears. But the truth is, God's silence is not a sign of abandonment. It is often the sacred space where He builds what you cannot yet imagine. Even when heaven feels quiet, God is aligning people, opportunities, and timing with exquisite precision. He is arranging your life like a masterpiece, brushstroke by brushstroke, so that everything unfolds without chaos, without confusion, and without compromise. And when His timing finally reveals itself, you realize why the wait was necessary. The doors that once stayed shut will open without force. The blessings that once seemed delayed will arrive with grace. The opportunities that once slipped through your fingers will return in ways far greater than you first envisioned. There will be moments when you look back and say, if it happened earlier, I wouldn't have been ready. If it happened later, I might have given up, but it happened exactly when it was meant to. That is the beauty of God's divine calendar. It aligns perfectly with the destiny He crafted for you. So trust the slow unfolding, trust the pauses, trust the seasons when nothing moves, because those seasons are not empty, they are sacred. And trust that the God who knows the beginning and the end is guiding every moment in between with timing that is flawless, faithful, and filled with love for you. There is a divine calendar. God is never late, never early, always right on time. We forget this because we live in a world that rushes us, pressures us, and convinces us that everything must happen immediately. We want answers today, breakthroughs by morning, and miracles on demand. But God does not move at the pace of our impatience. He moves at the pace of purpose. His timing is woven with intention, stitched with wisdom, and wrapped in a love far greater than our understanding. When He delays, it is not because He has forgotten you. It is because the moment is not yet ripe, the path not yet ready, or your heart not yet prepared. And though waiting feels like standing in stillness, God is working behind that stillness in ways you cannot see. Sometimes, the greatest frustration in life comes from believing we are ready for what we are praying for. We hold on to dreams and desires with tight, eager hands, not realizing that if God gave them to us too soon, they might become burdens instead of blessings. What you call taking too long, God calls protecting you. What you see as a pause, God sees as preparation. He shields you from rooms you are not meant to enter yet, from people whose presence would derail your growth, from opportunities that shine like gold but carry the weight of harm. In the delay, He is shaping your character, strengthening your patience, and molding your spirit so that when the blessing finally meets you, you can hold it without trembling. There are days when waiting feels like walking through fog. You can't see the road ahead, you can't hear the answers you prayed for, and you can't predict what tomorrow will bring. During those moments, doubt creeps in quietly, whispering that maybe God has forgotten you, or maybe your prayers are too small to reach His ears. But the truth is, God's silence is not a sign of abandonment. It is often the sacred space where He builds what you cannot yet imagine. Even when heaven feels quiet, God is aligning people, opportunities, and timing with exquisite precision. He is arranging your life like a masterpiece, brushstroke by brushstroke, so that everything unfolds without chaos, without confusion, and without compromise. And when his timing finally reveals itself, you realize why the wait was necessary. The doors that once stayed shut will open without force. The blessings that once seemed delayed will arrive with grace. The opportunities that once slipped through your fingers will return in ways far greater than you first envisioned. There will be moments when you look back and say, if it happened earlier, I wouldn't have been ready. If it happened later, I might have given up. But it happened exactly when it was meant to. That is the beauty of God's divine calendar. It aligns perfectly with the destiny He crafted for you. So trust the slow unfolding, trust the pauses, trust the seasons when nothing moves, because those seasons are not empty, they are sacred. And trust that the God who knows the beginning and the end is guiding every moment in between with timing that is flawless, faithful, and filled with love for you. Your battles are not yours alone. God fights in the unseen while you walk in faith. Life has a way of placing mountains in front of us, walls that seem too tall to climb, storms that seem too strong to survive. And in those moments when your arms ache from carrying the weight of your worries, when your heart trembles with uncertainty, it is easy to feel alone, but you are never alone. There is a divine presence that moves where you cannot see, that works in ways you cannot understand, and that fights battles that your eyes are too small to witness. Every struggle, every trial, every seemingly impossible circumstance is already being met by the hands of God, working quietly behind the veil of the visible world. Faith is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. When you step forward with courage, even when the path is uncertain, you allow God to act on your behalf. Your prayers are not whispered into silence. They are carried into a realm where victories are being won that your human perspective cannot yet grasp. God is dismantling obstacles, realigning situations, and placing allies and opportunities along your path. While your mind is busy analyzing, worrying, and doubting, His Spirit is strategizing, protecting, and guiding. The battles you think you are fighting alone are being fought in tandem with a power far greater than yourself, and that is the unseen miracle that gives hope to your weary heart. It is in the act of walking in faith that God's power manifests. Faith does not remove challenges instantly, but it allows you to move forward with the assurance that you are not carrying your burdens in isolation. You may stumble, you may fall, you may feel fear clawing at your resolve, but with faith, each step is a testament to trust. Every choice made in obedience, every act of patience, every surrender to God's plan strengthens the bond between your human effort and His divine intervention. The battles are real, but so is the unseen support that surrounds you, visible only to the eyes of your spirit, but potent enough to change outcomes and shift destinies. The unseen battles often leave you feeling exhausted and uncertain, but they are a sacred part of the journey. God does not always fight in ways that are dramatic or obvious. Sometimes victory comes quietly, through doors that open at the perfect time, through words spoken by others that lift you, through circumstances aligning in ways you never could have orchestrated. While you remain faithful, He is orchestrating the outcome. The victory is not in your effort alone. It is in the partnership between your obedience and His omnipotence. Your role is to trust, to keep moving, and to walk with courage even when you cannot see the full picture. One day, the invisible victories will become visible. You will look back and realize that the obstacles you feared were never insurmountable because God had been at work all along. The battles that seemed endless, the pain that felt unending, the trials that threatened to overwhelm you, they were never yours to bear alone. God fights for you, protects you, and carries you in ways that are often invisible to the world, but deeply transformative to your life. When you walk in faith, you are not walking alone. You are walking alongside the Almighty, And in that truth, every battle is already won before it even be. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom, letting God take the wheel when the road is unfamiliar. So often we confuse letting go with giving up. We mistake the act of releasing control as an admission of defeat, a signal that we are incapable or inadequate. But true surrender is neither defeat nor despair. It is a profound recognition that there are forces greater than ourselves, guiding the journey in ways we cannot fully see or understand. When the road twists in ways we did not anticipate, when our plans fall apart and the familiar gives way to uncertainty, surrender becomes the bridge between fear and faith, the pathway from doubt to peace. When you surrender, you allow yourself to be carried rather than to carry everything alone. You shift from the exhausting weight of trying to force outcomes to the gentle rhythm of trusting in God's guidance. The unfamiliar road may be frightening, but it is also where transformation begins. Your heart learns patience, your mind learns clarity, and your spirit learns courage. Every time you release control and let God lead, you take a step closer to freedom, not freedom from challenges, but freedom in knowing that you are not walking alone, that every turn, every obstacle, every unexpected curve has divine purpose and protection embedded in it. Surrender also opens your eyes to the beauty of the journey itself. When we clutch life tightly, we miss the lessons hidden in the detours, the wisdom found in delays, and the grace present in moments we cannot predict. Letting God take the wheel does not mean stopping. It means traveling with a heart aligned to a higher rhythm, moving with trust rather than fear. The road may be unfamiliar, but every unfamiliar path is a place where miracles are born, where character is forged, and where destiny begins to unfold. In surrender, you stop fighting against the current and start flowing with the divine plan. The act of surrender requires courage. It asks you to lay down your expectations, release your control, and step into uncertainty without seeing the entire map. It asks you to trust that God knows the terrain better than you, that He sees dangers you cannot perceive, and that His hand is steady even when yours trembles. This wisdom of surrender transforms fear into faith, anxiety into assurance, and tension into peace. It is the quiet acknowledgement that life is not a solo journey. It is a collaboration with the Creator, a dance between human effort and divine orchestration. And in the fullness of surrender, you discover the paradox. The less you try to control, the more you gain clarity. The less you cling, the more you receive. The less you fight, the more your path is illuminated. Surrender is not passivity, it is profound action through trust. By letting God steer, you navigate challenges with grace, embrace uncertainties with hope, and witness outcomes unfold with wonder. The road may be unfamiliar, but every step taken in surrender brings you closer to the life He has designed for you, a life where burdens are lighter, courage is deeper, and joy arrives in perfect time. Every closed door has a purpose. Every waiting season has a lesson. Life often hands us moments that feel like rejection, failure, or disappointment, and our hearts cry out, "Why not me? Why now?" We stare at doors that remain firmly shut and question our worth, our effort, and our dreams. Yet behind those doors lies a wisdom we cannot yet comprehend. Every closed door is not a denial. It is a divine pause, a protection against what we are not ready for, and a redirection toward what we truly need. The universe, and more specifically God, knows the path that is best for you, even when you cannot see it. Waiting is never wasted, even when it feels long and lonely. The silence, the delay, and the moments of stillness are all teachers in disguise. In these periods, patience becomes a companion, humility becomes a guide, and faith grows roots that will sustain you in seasons of abundance. When you are forced to pause, you are being prepared, you are being strengthened, you are being molded into someone capable of handling what is coming. Life's greatest lessons are rarely learned in haste. They are cultivated in the waiting, in the quiet, in the moments when you are tempted to give up but choose to hold on instead. Closed doors also protect us from what we cannot see. Sometimes a no shields us from a future filled with harm or disappointment that would derail the plans God has for us. We may think a door closing is a failure, but often it is a blessing disguised as rejection. By redirecting us away from paths that would not serve our purpose, God ensures that when the right door opens, we are ready to step through with confidence and grace. What once seemed like loss may become the very thing that leads us to victory, fulfillment, and joy beyond our imagination. The lessons in waiting are as important as the victories that follow. In the pause, you learn resilience. You learn to trust not in the timing of the world, but in the timing of the divine. You discover that your value does not depend on immediate success, that your character is strengthened in silence, and that your heart grows wise when tempered by patience. Every unanswered question, every delayed desire, and every obstacle teaches you to rely not on your own understanding, but on God's perfect plan. You emerge stronger, clearer, and more capable than you were before. And when the right door finally opens, it reveals why the others had to remain closed. The timing, the preparation, and the lessons from waiting align perfectly to create a path you could not have imagined if it had come sooner. The blessing is richer, the victory sweeter, and the experience more meaningful because you were shaped for it in the meantime. Every closed door and every waiting season are threads in a tapestry of purpose. Trust that God is weaving it all together for your good, that every pause has meaning, every lesson has value, and every closed door is simply a step toward the right opening at the right time. When God removes something, He is making space for something greater. Life has a way of taking things from us, jobs that seem secure, relationships that felt permanent, dreams that once burned bright. And in those moments, our hearts ache, our minds race, and we struggle to understand why. We question our worth, our choices, and even our faith. Yet, behind every loss, behind every removal, there is a divine hand gently clearing the path for something far better than we could have imagined. God does not take without purpose. He removes to create room for growth, blessing, and expansion in ways that our human perspective cannot yet see. Often we cling to what is familiar because it feels safe, because it feels like all we know, all we have worked for, and all we deserve. But clinging too tightly can prevent us from receiving the greater things God wants to place in our lives. When something is taken away, it is not always punishment or misfortune. It is an invitation to trust, to release, and to embrace the new possibilities that lie ahead. God knows the plans He has for us, and sometimes those plans require space to be made. Every removal, every ending, is a preparation for a beginning far more abundant than we could orchestrate on our own. The removal process is rarely painless. It challenges us, stretches us, and forces us to confront our attachment to comfort and control. We feel lost deeply because we were meant to, because it teaches us that true fulfillment does not come from what we hold on to, but from what we allow God to give. When God removes what we cannot carry forward, He frees our hands, our hearts, and our minds. He opens us to new opportunities, fresh perspectives, and blessings that would have been impossible to receive if we were still burdened by what was removed. This act of divine clearing is a sign of love, guidance, and wisdom that surpasses our understanding. It is important to remember that the space God creates is sacred. It is a place where new dreams can be planted, where new relationships can flourish, and where new doors can open. We often grieve what is gone, but in our grief, we must also recognize the potential that now exists. God is not leaving us empty. He is preparing us for fulfillment that aligns with our purpose, that expands our capacity for joy, and that leads us into the next season of our lives with strength and clarity. The removal is not an end, it is a beginning disguised in the quiet work of divine planning. When we learn to trust God's removals, we discover freedom, we release resistance, we embrace faith, and we make room for blessings that exceed our imagination. The loss that once felt devastating becomes the very thing that leads us to abundance, peace, and purpose. God's timing and wisdom are perfect. He removes what is not meant to stay so that what is truly meant for us can take its rightful place. And when we finally look back, we realize that every removal, every loss, every empty space was simply a divine preparation for a greater, more beautiful life than we could have ever planned for ourselves. Faith grows strongest in moments when answers are silent. There are times in life when we pray, hope, and strive, and yet the world seems quiet. No signs appear, no solutions come, and no guidance is visible. In these moments, our hearts may waver, our minds may question, and our spirits may feel tested. It is easy to become discouraged, to doubt, and to wonder if our prayers are reaching anyone at all. But it is precisely in these moments of silence that faith is forged into something unshakable. When answers are absent, faith becomes the bridge between uncertainty and trust, between despair and hope. Silence is not emptiness, it is fertile ground for the growth of trust. When we cannot see the path clearly, we are called to walk by faith rather than by sight. The quiet is an invitation to surrender our need for immediate understanding and to lean wholly on God's wisdom. In the absence of answers, we learn to wait with patience, to hope without conditions, and to love without guarantees. This is where the foundation of faith deepens. Not when life is easy, not when our prayers are immediately answered, but when we stand firm in the stillness, trusting that God is at work even when we cannot perceive it. Moments of silence also teach endurance and resilience. Waiting without answers tests our ability to persevere, to remain steadfast, and to keep moving forward even when the way is unclear. It is in these seasons that character is strengthened and spiritual muscles are built. When we rely solely on what we can see or control, our faith remains fragile, dependent on circumstances. But when we trust without visible proof, when we hope without tangible signs, our faith grows roots that can withstand storms, doubts, and setbacks. Silence, then, becomes a classroom where patience, courage, and trust are cultivated. Miracles require readiness, not just desire. A heart unprepared may receive a gift and fail to recognize its significance or mismanage its power. God's wisdom in timing is perfect because He knows what your heart can bear, what your spirit can embrace, and what your life can sustain. He does not withhold blessings out of cruelty or oversight. He waits until the moment is ripe. While we are busy wanting, He is quietly shaping our hearts, refining our understanding, and aligning our lives so that when the miracle arrives, it is received with gratitude, humility, and readiness. The waiting period, as difficult as it may feel, is a necessary preparation for the fullness of the gift. Patience becomes the soil in which miracles take root. Every day spent waiting, learning, and growing nurtures a deeper appreciation for the unseen hand at work. We cultivate resilience, faith, and wisdom, and in doing so, we become vessels capable of holding blessings that exceed our imagination. The miracle may be delayed to teach us endurance, to strengthen our character, or to protect us from outcomes that we cannot yet understand. When the heart is ready, gratitude replaces impatience, clarity replaces confusion, and the impact of the miracle is fully realized. The timing is never arbitrary. It is deliberate, thoughtful, and perfectly orchestrated by God. Sometimes the miracle arrives in forms we did not anticipate. We may envision one outcome, one answer, or one solution, but God often delivers more than we can imagine. If it were rushed, we might overlook the depth, the beauty, or the transformative power of what is given. By waiting until the heart is ready, God ensures that the blessing is embraced fully, appreciated deeply, and used wisely. What may have seemed like a delay is, in truth, a measure of divine wisdom, shaping the miracle to fit the exact moment and circumstance where it will have the greatest impact. And when the miracle finally blooms, it is more than just the fulfillment of a desire. It is proof of God's perfect timing, His faithfulness, and His love. The patience, the preparation, and the waiting all culminate in a gift that transforms, uplifts, and renews. God does not rush miracles because He knows that a rushed blessing is never fully received, never fully understood, and never fully appreciated. The waiting shapes the heart, sharpens the spirit, and makes the moment of blessing unforgettable. Trust that God's timing is flawless, and that the miracle meant for you will arrive exactly when your heart is ready to receive it in all its beauty, power, and grace. When your strength ends, God's strength begins, and His strength never runs out. There are moments in life when our energy is spent, when our courage falters, and when our spirit feels fragile under the weight of our struggles. We reach the edge of what we can endure and find ourselves gasping for hope, wondering how we can possibly continue. It is in those very moments, when human strength fades, that divine strength takes over. God's power does not depend on our ability to hold on. It is limitless, unwavering, and perfectly timed to meet our deepest need. What we cannot carry, He carries. What we cannot endure, He sustains. Human strength has limits, but God's strength is infinite. We tire, we stumble, we fall, and we fail, yet He does not. He is the constant in our chaos, the unshakable presence in our uncertainty, and the steady force that lifts us when we can no longer lift ourselves. When your arms grow weary from trying to hold it all together, when your heart aches from carrying burdens too heavy for one person, God steps in. His strength is not measured by how hard we work or how much we try. It is measured by His faithfulness, His love, and His unwavering power. When we surrender our exhaustion to Him, He transforms weakness into resilience and despair into hope. Our limitations are not obstacles to God. They are invitations to trust Him more deeply. When we reach the end of our strength, it is a sign that we are ready to experience His power in ways we could not imagine. Every struggle, every challenge, and every moment of fatigue becomes an opportunity to witness His intervention. God's strength meets our weakness and turns it into a platform for miracles. It is in our vulnerability, our moments of helplessness, and our confessions of insufficiency that His strength shines most brilliantly. We are never abandoned in our weakness. We are strengthened by the One who never tires. Relying on God's strength does not make life easy, but it makes life possible. We may still face storms, trials, and obstacles, yet we face them differently because we are not facing them alone. His strength provides clarity when our minds are confused, courage when our hearts are afraid, and perseverance when our bodies and souls cry out for rest. The endurance we thought we lacked is already embedded in Him, waiting for us to let go of self-reliance and embrace divine support. Every time we surrender our limits, we gain access to a power that does not run out, a resource that does not diminish, and a presence that never abandons. And when we experience life through God's strength, we discover a profound truth. What seems impossible in our own power becomes possible in His. The burdens we could not carry are lifted, the battles we could not fight are won, and the challenges we feared most are overcome. Our weakness is the canvas for His power, our exhaustion is the stage for His might, and our despair is the doorway for His grace. When your strength ends, God's begins, and that strength never fails, never tires, and never runs dry. It is infinite, eternal, and available to every heart willing to trust, surrender, and lean on Him completely.